Welcome, everyone, to Rutgers, the voice of college football. For those of you who are in New Jersey, getting that blizzard, stay safe and have some fun while you're at it. I'm here with my fantastic co-host, Gabriel Pickup. We got a great show here for you tonight. We're going to start off with some updates, and then we're going to talk about who are the best 5 players at Rutgers since 2000. Gabe, why don't you start us off with those updates?
Yeah, like Adam said, I hope everyone's staying warm. If you had a snow day, I hope you were outside making some snow angels, not doing too much homework. But if you had homework, of course, I hope you did it. And I hear that there's another snow day coming in tomorrow. So, unfortunately, I hear that also means no more Memorial Day weekend off for those students. So with that being said, make the most of your snow days because you're not going to be grilling any hot dogs on Monday of MDW, unfortunately.
How disrespectful to our veterans. I want to just say that. And also, as far as the snow goes, when it snows like this, there's only one thing you can do, and that's to go get in that sleigh and go down a very steep hill. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have one critical update. Donovan, who cannot make it tonight because of power outage, because of the snowstorm. He is in the Long Island area. Of course, he would if he could. He provided the update last week that Javien Robinson, 4-star class of 2027 wide receiver, was interested in Rutgers among other schools and brought together the notion that because he has not eliminated Rutgers with these other schools that I will be going over in a second in mind, that possibly he is interested, regardless of the competitive edge being with other programs. And I have an update here today that 247 Sports has Rutgers as a warm interest for him, and all the other schools are cool, meaning that we're probably favored to get Javien over these other schools. Other schools, we have Syracuse, Florida State, Miami, Penn State, Pitt, South Carolina, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Temple. So we got some ballers that are in competition with us here for Javien Robinson. And it looks like so far we're in the leads. Fingers crossed, because we do get wide receiver talent, but we need more 4-stars, like Adam has said in the past. We have a 4-star coming in this next year, and at the wide receiver position, and all we can do now is just hope for more, and this looks like a good recruiting step in the right direction.
I agree, and like you said, it's good that Rutgers is starting to compete for the 4-stars and hopefully eventually the 5-stars, because if you look at the schedule we have next year, we've got USC coming in from Los Angeles, we've got Indiana and Kurt Signetti coming to Rutgers, we're playing Northwestern, Michigan, Wisconsin at Camp Randall, Nebraska at home, going to Happy Valley, Penn State. You win, you need the talent. And that's what Rutgers, I think, has been focused on in the portal. And this is a really good development, Gabe, and I think that we're on the right track, so it's encouraging.
Yeah, it's definitely encouraging, and all those games you mentioned could go either way, but some of them can't really even go our way. And here's hoping that changes, where those games like Michigan or Indiana or USC, you think there's a fighting chance, whereas right now it's looking a little less hopeful. So hopefully recruits like this sort of put us up to that pedestal,
Well, what did they call it? The Pandemonium in Piscataway, I believe.
Yeah, the Louisville game.
Yeah, when Rutgers at SHI Stadium defeats a really, really talented Louisville team. And then Rutgers welcomes the second team in the country in South Florida in 2007, in which was a somewhat disappointing year, and beats them 30-27. So it's not like we can't be competitive. We certainly were against Penn State this year. We certainly were against Iowa. Okay, we certainly were against Washington, leading at the half. So it's there. The question is, how do we cultivate it so that we can play a full 4 quarters and win those close games?
Yeah, and ultimately what it comes down to is talent.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only teach so many things to a group of kids that might not be as talented as the competition. You can't rely on upsets, strictly upsets at least, for a good year. You need to have games go on paper how they're supposed to, and the result is still you winning.
Well, I'll tell you, if you want to talk about upsets, when I look at the schedule for 2026, what jumps out at me as a potential shocking upset?
Oh, no, let's hear it.
Indiana.
No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I think Indiana won the national championship because they had a quarterback that was a generational quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. Without Mendoza, I think Indiana is going to struggle. And I think they're going to probably have 2 or 3 losses.
You don't like Josh Hoover?
I do. But Mendoza was the Joe Montana of college quarterbacks. And, you really don't get that very often. And the importance of having a quarterback that has that high of a football IQ that can really command an offense like that, you don't see that very often. So, and I think with the losses they have on defense, they're going to have to regroup. I don't think, look, Penn State almost upset Indiana this year. I don't put it, past Rutgers to give them a game because unlike USC, unlike Michigan, those teams have playmakers. Indiana is not really known for having, studs at the wideout spot.
They did this year.
They did this year, but they're not going to have the same playmakers. And I think it's going to be closer than the experts think.
I hope, because I agree that Fernando Mendoza is a really good quarterback, and I'm super high on him, and I have been since about week 2 of this past year. Honestly, he was solid at Cal, but I think the Indiana program helped elevate him. Josh Hoover coming into Indy he had a better career over at TCU than Mendoza did at Cal prior to going to Indy. So to me, it's the Cignetti special, and it always has been. People questioned, could he do it at a G5 level, and he did. People questioned, could he do it at a Big Ten level, a national level, and of course, he shocked everyone. I expect that to go more of the same for Indiana. Obviously, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope Adam's right. Usually, I'm the optimist. What the hell is going on here? But I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people don't see it happening, but when you look at Indiana as a team, what really anchored them was their defense. They've lost a good number of really senior leaders on that senior-laden defense. And without Fernando Mendoza, I'm not saying they're not going to go to the playoffs or anything like that, but they present the kind of style that Rutgers can be competitive with. It's not like they're like Oregon, who's got 5-star studs as wideouts and, Whittington at running back. They're not going to have the same playmakers. So they're going to be tough. They're going to be a great team. But I think styles make fights, and I think their style matches up better with us than, say, we do against an Oregon or a USC.
Yeah, it's fair. Oregon, definitely probably the most consistent program that we're facing next year, unless you want to say Michigan. But I still believe Oregon is more consistently good. Michigan fluctuates between elite and good, whereas Oregon is always at least great. USC fluctuates, but they're always an offensive powerhouse. And Indiana is just recently good, so we'll have to see. But yeah, so I guess to rewind it a little bit, I'm hopeful that Javien Robinson comes here because he hasn't ruled us out yet. In the same way that I was hopeful that Jared Smith would come here over Georgia, over Auburn, over Georgia Tech, and he did.
I think that he's going to go somewhere else. I think he's going to go some money.
Well, I think that he already has considered money. I think he's already considered winning. Something about Rutgers. Maybe he wants to help elevate it.
Well, there is a lot that Rutgers has to offer. I mean, the culture that Schiano builds, he has put people in the NFL. He does develop players, and Rutgers is not that far off. They were close with Penn State. They were up on Washington at the half, like I said. They were close with Iowa. I mean, they're not getting blown out. They're not a Purdue. They're not, they are a team that has great potential, but needs to do more of the little things right to get the big results. And we'll see if that happens. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that it's just a matter of time. I mean, look at what Nick Saban said. He said that we're the second most likely program to be the next Indiana. I think he said Baylor was number 1, and they just got DJ Lagway out of Florida. So we'll have to see if that translates, but who knows? Maybe escaping Gator Nation will be just what he needs. But anyways, I think the fact that we're ranked over Vandy in that regard, when Vandy had an Indiana of 2024 like season this past year.
Yeah.
It says a lot, especially when we regressed in terms of our record, even though the competition was tougher. It's like as soon as we got one side of the ball going, of course, the other one sort of slacked off a bit. But maybe we'll be able to have both be consistent.
And you say it's a matter of time. I'm going to disagree.
Who knows how long? I just said it's a matter of time.
I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to quote Billy Joel, and I'm going to say it's a matter of trust. These players need to trust in the coaches more. They need to trust in themselves. They need to trust in each other and be a team like Indiana. So maybe it is a matter of time, but you know what? Time will get shorter if it's also a matter of trust.
True. Nothing beats the golden words of Mr. Billy Joel.
Yeah. Well, so I was thinking today,
let's hear it. What were you thinking?
I was trying to be positive today. My mom's up there in Bergen County, 27 inches of snow. I was thinking about Rutgers football. I'm like, you know what? There's been a lot of negativity, but there's been a lot of positive in the last 25 years too. And it made me thinking, we've had some amazing players. And I was thinking, who are the top 5 players since 2000? Last 25 years. And the first name on my list of the 5 players coming in at number 5 is actually a player from this year's team.
Same here.
Really? Mine is Mr. KJ Duff.
Oh, that was good. You know what? I think, by the way, jumping right into it, I see no sugarcoating the topic whatsoever. The thing is, I have 5 players on my list because, I was also magically thinking about the past 25 years, and this is all just a coincidence.
Or you were thinking magically.
Yeah, you know what? We were having that telepathic communication there.
Yes.
But yeah, so I have 2 players of recent time and 3 players closer to 2000 than 2026. And that's because you can argue that there are 3 or 4 players in the past 5 years that belong on this list just based on the talent level. But to me, part of the criteria is winning. So I'm not saying it's all the criteria, or else my first 2 players probably wouldn't be on the list. But it's all about the combination of balance and individual talent and team chemistry. So my number 5 player, only because maybe KJ had the more impressive year, the better highlights, but I think I'm putting Ethan on my number 5 position. And I would probably have him at 3 or 2 if he had a good 2024. And he had a solid 2024, but if he had the numbers he had this past season in 2024, we could have been a playoff team for all we know. So I have Ethan at number 5. He has got an extremely strong arm. When he's on fire, nobody can stop him. And like I said, he has like those. He had those Peyton Manning-esque games. Of course, he also had those Deshaun Kaiser, DJ Ugalele-esque games every here and there. But for the most part, he was looking more Peyton Manning than DJ Ugalele. He's my number 5. And if we won 7 or 8 games this past year, or he had the season this year, last year, he would probably be number 2. But to me, he's number 5.
Well, look, that's certainly a fair choice. But I got to tell you, Ethan, you didn't come on the show. And, you want to make it to the top 5 list, but you don't come on the show despite repeated invitations. It is what it is.
You know what, Jason? You bring a great point. Anthony Davis. I didn't even think of him, and I feel like an idiot because he is tied for the highest draft pick in Rutgers history. I believe pick 10 or pick 11. And I hate to say it, Donovan would kill me if he heard this, but the offensive line just skips past my mind sometimes when I'm ranking these guys. I think of the guys that get the ball a lot or make the big plays. And obviously the offensive line is so important, but just jumps right by me. And so that's my bad, but I'm going to present the rest of my list as I have it. But Anthony Davis deserves strong consideration over most of these guys.
Anthony, yeah, certainly. I mean, but, I could see the Ethan choice. I really could, because he did have some great games, and he was fantastic against Penn State. No question about that. So that's a fair choice, I guess. So now we go to number 4. And, This is probably an obvious choice. Some might say this person should be number 1 or number 2, but I'm putting this person at number 4. You have to have Ray Rice on the list.
Whoa, 4?
Yeah,
Dude.
he's number 4. Exactly where he deserves to be. Number 4.
That's crazy. He set like every freaking record across the board.
Not good enough. Not good enough.
Man.
There are players I would put ahead of him, but when you come down to who's 4, who's 3, it's pretty arbitrary. One of the best players in Rutgers history, just a great running back, was great in the NFL, and certainly one of the best players in the history of the program.
Yeah, Jason, I couldn't agree more. He is a top 3 in terms of like the level of competition at his position. He's a top 3 most dominant player in Rutgers history. And before I continue this list, since I didn't put Anthony Davis in my list, I also want to shout out Logan Ryan. I want to shout out Jason McCourty, KJ Duff, of course. Ian Strong had a great year, and several others who didn't make the list who deserve to have their names shouted out. And we did this segment last year, and I think I also had Ethan on my list last year, and that was definitely premature. But now I feel a lot more confident with it. And I know that you're not dissing Ray Rice because you mentioned nothing but good things about him. But I am very shocked that he is not at least number 2, but pretty much he's unanimously 1 across Rutgers.
Actually, you know what? I should have put him at number 5. I'm going to put him at number 5.
You're a rage hater. You're looking for clicks right now.
I'm going to put Ray Rice at 5, and I'm going to put KJ at 4. I apologize, KJ, for that slight. After that catch against Penn State.
Oh, my goodness. Also, forgot, shout out to Mohamed Sanu, absolutely, and shout out to Kenny Britt and Jeremy Zutta. But Kenny Britt, Mohamed Sanu just couldn't find a place for them on this list, which might sound shocking because of how good the offense was in the mid-2000s, late 2000s, but there's just players that I feel more deserving. So my number 4 player is a running back, but I'm not going to rage bait. I'm not going to say it's Ray Rice. It's going to be a fella on the Chicago Bears. Just had a great first year. I'm putting Kyle Monangai, number 4, best player at Rutgers since 2000. He had 2 1,000-yard rushing seasons with us. He was at Rutgers his whole tenure, which obviously nowadays is rare. He was a senior and a junior, I believe, when NIL first started taking off in the NCAA. So he had opportunities to leave, but chose to stay. Shout out to Monangai. We were both somewhat skeptical of him, Adam and I, coming into the NFL Combine and NFL Draft. I thought that his ceiling, I always said it, his ceiling would be like a Sony Michel in the NFL, but he's already more talented in the NFL than Sony Michel ever was. And so I'm changing my ceiling for Monangai from Sony Michel to, I'm going to say, somewhere just underneath the tier of Marshawn Lynch and Derrick Henry, just underneath. I'm going to say he is like a Walmart version of Marshawn Lynch. And that's no disrespect to Kyle Monangai. It's just that level is so generationally high, but he has been such a good addition for the Bears, and he's probably going to be RB1 for all of next year. And I'm excited. He's Pro Bowl caliber, and he had a great stint with Rutgers. Definitely a legend. Even though we didn't have the winningest seasons, he did help us win that bowl against Miami, and he did pretty much carry the offense for 2023 and 2024.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, what a great year he had for the Bears, and he was just a very physical runner for Rutgers. Certainly belongs on the list. And I just want to note as a side note, Gabe, it appears that I have a fan. And you know what? I love my fans. I'll tell you something. And you know what? This is
I think I know who this is this time around.
I don't know, but I'll tell you something. I just want to shout out to my fans. I need about 5 million more of you, and then everything will be good. But anyway, okay, well, I'm going to go for my number 3 pick. This is a pick, a great linebacker for Rutgers, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, in the last 25 years. 2009 to 2012, Kasim Green.
Good shout.
two-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year, and he set the Rutgers season record for tackles, 136 in a single season. First team All-American, and can't do much better than him.
No, for sure. I didn't even consider him really, but definitely shout out to Kasim. My number 3 is now. Look, Ethan, I've said it, just had the best statistical year.
You're going to put him as number 3 and number 5? He's going to be twice on the list?
Yeah, he's just that good. But Ethan has statistically had the best quarterback season in Rutgers history, and I think that he is the most talented quarterback in Rutgers history. But in terms of tenure, in terms of winning, in terms of what he was able to do as a Scarlet Knight, how he was able to elevate the program, I have to put Mike Teal on this list, and to me, he's number 3. Wow. Numbers are very similar to Ethan's, but he didn't make as many mistakes. He was way more consistent long-term, and he elevated us. He elevated us to a ranked program. We beat number 2 South Florida. We beat number 3 Louisville. We started out, I believe it was 8-0, and we just looked unstoppable, and New Jersey was finally on the map. And whatever has happened since he's left, someone will someday put New Jersey back on the map.
Yeah, and New Jersey, let me tell you, New Jersey's already on the map just because it's New Jersey. Best state in the country. You've got the boardwalk at Seaside, Wildwood. You've got, great places to go, Atlantic City. You're right by New York City. And, of course, you have my hometown of Hasbrook Heights, which you can't beat. So that's your number 3. And now we're going to number 2. Number 2, this is where it gets a little bit dicey. So number 2, I really looked at the wide receiving core. And that team, 2009, 2011, can't beat Mohamed Sanu. Mohamed Sanu, number 2, fantastic wide receiver, probably the best in the last 25 years.
Yeah. I will say KJ Duff has potential to beat him in terms of that best receiver Rutgers has had. He definitely has potential. Another year like last year, and we win at least 7 games. It's a conversation. If we win 8 games, I think he has it. But yeah. Mo Sanu, he ironically, even though he's a wide receiver, has, I believe, the best QBR in NFL history because he threw like 3 or 4 touchdowns on 7 throws or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember we were talking last year, and you mentioned that he had somewhat of an attitude problem with Rutgers. I don't know. Maybe you were I think you were talking about him.
About who?
About Sanu? Or maybe you were talking about Kenny Britt?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't recall who I was talking about. It could have been, but I'm not sure.
Well, shout out to Mohamed Sanu because he reposted us on Twitter, and he seems like a great guy now, regardless of whatever happened in the past. I simply don't have him on my list, but that's only because we can only put 5 selections in. There's 52 players each year at a time, and there's 100 players, between the commits and the recruiting. It's just too much to squeeze him in there. Although he definitely is considered, he's definitely in everyone's top 10 list. My number 2, I've gone with 3 offensive players. I have to switch it up, and you mentioned Kasim breaking the record for most tackles. Well, I'm going with, when I made my honorable mentions, I said Jason McCourty, but that's the only McCourty I mentioned. So I'm saying Devin McCourty, number 2, Rutgers player, Rutgers Scarlet Knight in the past 25 years. Played with us all 4 years, started all 4 years, which that's rare for Shiano to do, start a freshman, specifically at defense. 238 tackles, 12 tackles for loss. He had 6 interceptions, 2 of them for touchdown, 2 forced fumbles, and he was the number 1 corner that whole span where we were back in it. And I have to mention someone on defense from that era because recently, although defense has typically been our identity, recently the defense hasn't been doing what they're supposed to. But I wanted to shine some light on when the defense was looking crisp out there. So shout out to Devin McCourty.
The defense was looking crisp when? In 2006?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought you were referring to this year's defense.
No chance.
No, no. Yeah, that's a good. That's a good pick there. I think all the players on your list certainly are worthy of being on the top five. Now it comes down to number one. Number one, always
Can I make a guess? Can I make a guess?
Yes.
Dylan Lonergan.
Dylan Lonergan. Now I may change my number one because of that. Dylan Lonergan, former 4-star at Alabama, coming to Rutgers to compete for the job against AJ Surace. Could he be, a generational player at Rutgers? We'll see. I think he's got the talent, but don't count out Surace. We'll see how that quarterback battle shapes up. I once, about 6 years ago, I went to see a concert in Kansas City. And I lived in Indiana at the time. It was about 6 hours away. And I was thinking, the last place I want to go is Kansas City. Sounds like such an ambiguous place in the middle of nowhere.
I know who you're saying. I think I know who you're saying.
Well, it was funny. I went to Kansas City, and I was like, wow, what a cute little town. What a nice little place here. And, of course, Iron Maiden, what a great, great damn band. And it makes me think of somebody who I think is the best player in the last 25 years, Isaiah Pacheco. Wow. Running back who led Rutgers 3 straight seasons in rushing yards, went on to be great player for the Chiefs. Isaiah Pacheco with 2,442 career rushing yards, 18 rushing touchdowns, and 2 100-yard games against Michigan. He's number one on my list.
I'm going to have to school you here. I'm sorry. But 2,442. My number one guy has 4,926.
Yes, however,
3 yards per carry. My number one guy has 5.4. You mentioned 18 touchdowns. My number one guy has 49. I mean, he hasn't beat in receptions. Pacheco has 10 more receptions, but I don't think that those 10 more receptions it weighs evenly with the 49 touchdowns, double the yards and more yards per attempt. And here's my last point. I was considering Pacheco, but he had a worse year every year from his freshman year to his senior year since he got here. Now, of course, he had NFL success, but that's quite odd, right? That a running back that had his best year statistically his freshman year, his second best year sophomore year, third best junior year, worst year senior year with 3.9 yards per carry. And somehow he had NFL success. Great for him, but statistically, and the fact that Ray Rice was winning, and he had another great running back in Brian Leonard competing with him, and he still put up those numbers. I can't do it, man.
Well, okay, so you look at the statistics, and that's fine. He's 11th in program history with 3,039 all-purpose yards. And when did he amass these statistics? He was not on a very good team, was he? He was on one of the historically bad teams and still did it. Imagine if he was on this year's team or the 2006 team. So I think you got to look at it in context.
I'm not saying he's a bad player. I can't believe you have him over Ray Rice. That's insane to me.
Well, Ray Rice is number 4. And who's had a better NFL career?
There's a lot of argument for you could say Ray Rice did.
I don't think so.
I mean, obviously Pacheco's won more, but Ray Rice, if he didn't get into any off the field issues, which I don't consider that for these rankings, I'm just talking about strictly careers. In his prime, he was a top 3, top 2 running back in the NFL. In Isaiah Pacheco's prime, which may have passed, he might have another resurgence. He was maybe a top 12 running back, top 15.
What I'm saying is that he led Rutgers in rushing and had 2 100-yard rushing games against Michigan on historically horrible Rutgers teams.
Yeah.
To do that on those teams, to me, matters more than Ray Rice doing it on very good teams.
Man, I would love to have Donovan here because I think he would be he'd be telling you that you're wrong, and in a way that you wouldn't be being like, well, but actually, I think you'd be listening. Because Donovan knows his shit. Shout out to Donovan. But
wait, are you mimicking me? Are you I mean, okay. Well, Ray Rice certainly. Let's see. Well, how would Pacheco have done on the teams that Ray Rice was on?
That's tough to say because Pacheco's more of a power back, where Ray Rice is an all-purpose back.
I bet you he would have done just as well. And when you're talking about a team that was terrible during his years, and he's still getting 100 yards not once but twice against Michigan, and leading the team in rushing all 3 years, then going on to the Chiefs and having a productive career, I think that a reasonable argument could be made that him and Ray Rice are equivalent if you consider the context of the teams they played on. Well, actually, I'm just kidding.
I don't think there is a reasonable argument, but I think you're putting up the best fight that someone who's defending Pacheco over Ray Rice could put up.
That's what lawyers do, defense lawyers.
I just can't do it. Statistically, I can't do it based on the shiftiness. I can't do it based on any criteria other than Pacheco having slightly more success with receiving. But I'm sorry, I just can't do it, and I don't think any Rutgers fan would put Pacheco over him. Now, shout out to Pacheco for having great years with horrible Rutgers teams, but Ray Rice was a huge reason we were winning. He was the most valuable player on either side of the football that year. He forced Brian Leonard into RB2 fullback his freshman year, and he has close to 5,000 yards rushing, by far the most in program history, on more yards per attempt, more touchdowns. And he was actually ranked 7th in Heisman voting in 2006, a sophomore running back from Rutgers. So I can't do it. But let us know what you think in the comments below. If you're here watching, let us know if Adam's crazy, if I'm not giving Isaiah Pacheco enough credit. I just don't see it, but let us know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I don't think you're wrong, but I think that you have to look at the supporting cast. Did Pacheco have an offensive line? No. Did he have a team that won any games? No. And
Exactly.
And something that is revealing is when you look at their NFL careers, I think you can argue that Pacheco had a better NFL career. And I just, sometimes I like to look at it more in context than just look at the stats. But I see someone says, "What's my website, Adam?" That website's going to be coming up in 3 weeks. 3 weeks out before it goes live. It's lamparello-law.com. And it's, I'm not going to promote myself, but, defending people who are charged with crimes, helping people with applications, resumes, personal statements, exam preparation in the good old town of East Rutherford, New Jersey, home to the New York Football Giants.
Well, you're wrong. Your website is actually http://www.onlyfans.com/Adam Lamparello.
Well, that too. And I was recently, they did a top 5 list there too, and I was at number 2. You know who was number 1? Donald Trump. You believe that?
Yeah, I guess I can if it's on OnlyFans.
Good point. So yeah, do we have any honorable mentions here that we're missing? I mean, I mentioned Gary Nova belongs somewhere in this conversation.
Gary Nova belongs in the conversation. Brian Leonard definitely belongs in the conversation.
Yes,
I was between him and Manungai. I went with Manungai only because he was the guy. Who else are we missing? I said Logan Ryan. I said Jason McCourty. Ian Strong I mentioned. KJ Duff was an honorable on mine. You can say honorable mention Kwabena Asamoah.
Yeah. Honorable mention on my list is Tavion Branch for the number of times that he has flipped from school to school. Now,
on my dog.
I think the list. I think most people would agree with your list more than mine, certainly. But I think there's one person we're overlooking, and this is the problem. We never give any respect to our special teams. And I'm going to give a shout out to our good friend, Jeremy Ito. Jeremy Ito from 2004 to 2007, 80 career field goals. Got to give him credit.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's fair. Let's see. I feel like, I don't know if people are going to be okay with me not having either star receiver from the late 2000s on my list. No Kenny Britt, no Mo Sanu. I know Anthony Davis. Neither of us had Anthony Davis, which is That's
but we do. I do think we have to go back to our special teams. We cannot forget Adam Korsak, the Ray Guy Award winner from 2022, one of the best punters in NCAA history.
What about our guy Jude McAtem, the Giants superstar kicker?
Yeah, and what about? I was going to say something, but
You bit your tongue.
Mr. Jai Patel had a good run. Got a little nervous, but I'll tell you who would have been on this list probably if he had stayed, and that's Mohamed Toure.
Hey, yes, absolutely. He is probably a top 20 at least.
Yeah,
maybe top 15 might be pushing it. You know who would have not only been on this list but could have been number one? Saquon Barkley, man. What happened?
Saquon Barkley went to Penn State.
Yeah, he flipped.
Oh, so he belongs to Tavion Branch. All right, you're on the list. Yeah, he did flip, but he would. Oh my gosh! Now think about this for 1 second. Think about how Rutgers would have been had those players stuck with Scarlet Knights.
Yeah, it's honestly like there's losing out on players and there's players flipping or decommitting.
Yeah,
I feel like we've been hurt way more by flips, decommits, and transfers than we have by losing out on players. And maybe that's just because there's 20 schools for each prospect, and you forget as soon as you don't get the guy. But to me, it just seems like at least it's been sensationalized more when you lose out on players that commit or if they transfer out of there. I mean, Mo Toure just had a great year with Miami, and Bo Masco is going to have a great year. I believe Bo Knows is now in Colorado. Isn't it crazy though that what's his name? I gave him shit all year. The corner that I kept saying was targeted every play, and now he's with Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he's lucky that I don't remember his name. It's just crazy that these players have subpar years with us, and then they find. I mean, Bo Masco had a solid year, but overall, players have subpar years with us, and then they just find a better school, or not necessarily always better, but a better situation, and then they just ball the hell out.
Bo Masco had a solid year. Let me tell you something. Bo Masco flopped against Washington. He flopped in that touchdown. And Cam Miller didn't have as good of a year. But you know what? There's always those players that don't get recognized enough. But I got to give a shout out to Sebastian Joseph Day.
Shout out.
He won the Homer Hazel Award, and he was a team MVP at Rutgers. Did well in the NFL, a defensive line, 2014, I believe, to 2016 or 17.
Yeah. And just because of the man he is today and the fact that he literally laid his body out on the line, he's still a pillar to the community. Big shout out to Eric LeGrand, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't forget about someone who isn't recognized enough, who was a star at Rutgers and a star in the NFL. Eric Dickerson played with the LA Rams. What a great start. Oh, wait, he didn't go to Rutgers. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that's before 2000, too. I know I know those years get a little scrambled for you sometimes.
Well, as you get older, it's a much better feeling when things are scrambled, because clarity is such a horrible thing. When you see things as they are, it's better to say, I prefer to see them as I prefer them to be.
Honestly,
so,
yeah, I mean, who said it? The more you know, the less happy you are. But sometimes it's better to know, though. Sometimes it's
Bob Seger. I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. You'll get there.
Oh no, I've been getting there. Honestly, with the sports business side of things, that's when you start turning on these players, turning on these coaches. Whereas when you were a kid, you were just happy they were there, and you're sad that they're gone. But as an adult, you see the contract disputes play out. You see money disputes play out. You see organizations be picky. You see organizations screw players over, and players screw organizations over. And you start getting this disdain for situations where as a kid, you would just be like, oh, man, I wish it worked out.
Yeah, that's the thing about innocence. It shields you from the. That's why nostalgia is such a big thing, because you think, I wish we could go back to the way things were. Because when we were kids, you looked up to these people. You always assume the best about them, and then when you grow up, you realize that. How do I say it? There's no real such thing as heroes and villains. We're all in that gray
Yep.
area.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, the only time I got close to crying over sports, and they haven't seen any success since, was 2011, the Jets being 2 yards away from making the Super Bowl, and
Was that against the Patriots?
Steelers.
Oh yeah.
Fun fact: the Jets are 1-0 against Tom Brady in the playoffs.
Well, well, I'll say I cried too. I cried my eyes out in 1987 when Andre the Giant beat Hulk Hogan on Saturday night's main event. And then he gave the belt to the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. But anytime I needed, support and redemption, I would watch the Brother Love show on the WWF, and I would feel better.
I don't know too much about that. It's a little before my time. I don't know how long it went or anything, but
you were born in 2018, 2019?
Yeah, minus about 18 or 19 years.
Yeah. Well, I was born in 1975, 2 years before Elvis died, so didn't get to ever see him in concert. Wish I did. I don't know what we're talking about, but it's a good conversation. But I got to say, any listing of players, regardless of year, has to include Paul Robeson. Just a wonderful, inspirational player for Rutgers, for race relations, and just a brilliant man who embodies everything that Rutgers is about and the best of what I believe humanity should be. So always a shout out to Paul Robeson. Rest in peace. When I come up there, don't tell me I'm going to purgatory, because I took a test online. That's what it said. I don't need this. I want to go to heaven.
I'm not the decider. I'm not the decider.
I don't know if I put my fate in your hands, though.
Well, you know what? I think that it's definitely worth mentioning now of all months, Paul Robeson's legacy for Rutgers, for college football, for the state of New Jersey. It makes sense. Even if he doesn't qualify for this list, that doesn't make him not a legend in the sport and the state and in race relations overall.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year. I know that we've made some predictions going from 4-8 to 8-4, but Rutgers, like we've said, they've been close. Let's see if they can break through this year. Any final thoughts, Gabe?
Final thoughts. Shoot. Hopefully this snowstorm doesn't stay on the ground for a month like the last one did.
What's the temperature?
Well, it's in the low 30s now, high 20s tomorrow, but then after that it's in the 40s. So hopefully that means a little more melting will happen.
Yeah. I mean, New Jersey got hit. I don't think New Jersey's had a blizzard this bad since 1996 when it was about 20 inches. So hope everyone's safe there in the Garden State. I look forward to coming back there and hopefully being a lawyer that people like. And
yes.
So
if you like feet pics, make sure you ask Adam for the other link too.
Yeah, and if you like a lawyer who doesn't charge you as much money as other lawyers, you'd probably like me. So as always, we're going to be here every Monday at 7. We had to start a bit late today, but we'll be here every Monday at 7 p.m. So about Rutgers past, Rutgers present, and Rutgers future. So thanks everyone for joining us. Stay warm, and we'll see you next Monday. Go Scarlet Knights.
Go Scarlet Knights.